see from behind. And again, for this assignment, we're gonna do the full scale, okay? So we're gonna kind of move on from the half scale and we're gonna be doing the full scale. Okay, so if we look at the assignment sheet, what we're going to be doing is we're gonna take our bodice and we're gonna split it in half vertically. So we're gonna create a princess seam here. So that's the bodice. Now for the back, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be adding a seam here. So we're gonna essentially separate them. So we're gonna create a separate panel here, a separate panel here, one panel here, one panel here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 total pieces, okay? All right, let's start off with the bodice first. So for the bodice, the location of the seam is where these notches are. So where the darts are perfect. We don't need to do any dart manipulation. So we're just gonna follow along where our dart legs are. Okay. So that means that the first panel, the center frontmost panel, is gonna remain the same. We're not gonna do any changes to it. Here. Mark our apex point here. And that's it. Nothing to it. Sorry, I'm right off the edge here. So I'm gonna mark 1. This is my front center. And just to make sure that I'm oriented, I'm gonna put CF, so I know that this is the center front. And then I'll go in and mark all of my locations. So this is my apex point right here. Mark my bust line, let's see if there's no other notches, I'm good. So now I can just finish the seam allowance. And based on the sketch, the center front, we're going to add 1 inch 1 inch seam allowance here because we are going to do something additional afterwards. But for the assignment, the way that we're going to construct it is we're just gonna fold it in and press. Bottom's gonna be 1 inch.
Do you want us to mark the green line on these?
Yes, always mark your grain line. So this one, I'll go ahead and do that now. It's just gonna be 1 line. It's not gonna be a cut on fold.
So that always confused me. So this is center front, but only if it has the arrows pointing to the edge, does that mean cut on fold, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But because this one, we're adding a seam allowance and we're gonna do another finishing to the center front. We're not gonna do that symbol to cut on fold because we're gonna cut 2 pieces.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna do our seam allowance. This is an 8, oh, sorry, not an 8, quarter of an inch. I'm doing it in marker, but do it in pencil so you guys can do any erase. Oops, erase. Our newly drawn seam, we're gonna add our standard seam allowance, which is gonna be 1/2 inch.
When you say standard seam allowance, you just mean any style lines that have 1/2 inch?
Any style line, any joint seam is gonna have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Unless it's indicated that it's gonna be a different seam allowance, then that's when you'll kind of change it, but for the most part, it'll be 1/2 inch. All right, so the front is pretty set. Let's do the side panel. So I'm gonna give myself a little space. I'm gonna draw the other part of my bodice from the other dart leg, because I'm kind of taking away this material here, so we don't really need to draw that. Draw around. Oh my goodness. This is what happens when you've been using and abusing your pattern, your blocks. It loses its edges. Okay. Your apex. Here, draw your line. And there's a few things that we're gonna do to this part. So 1, this is a pointy point. So we're gonna smooth that out. We're gonna take our French curve and just create a nice smooth surface here. So we'll also note that that's our apex. So we're just gonna continue that. another thing that we wanna do is we wanna add ease right around here. So, I know I talk about ease all the time, I did say to forget ease, but ease is gonna be important here because we're dealing with the curve. We're dealing with a surface that's gonna be rounded, more or less in areas, so added ease is kind of just will just help shape around. This one, let's keep it nice and straight, so let's add ease here. How to do that is we're gonna cut it. This becomes my working pattern now. I'm gonna just cut around the edges, no seam allowance. So first thing, I'm gonna continue my bust line. And before I veer off too much, I'm gonna give myself 2 new notches because now we're dealing with 2 panels that we wanna line up. I think 1 notch is not gonna be enough. So let's give ourselves 2 more notches. And I'm just gonna do 2 inches above, 2 inches below. Same thing on the center front one, 2 inches above, and 2 inches below. And that becomes my notch locations for both panels, so that when I go to sew them together, they're gonna line up. But I wanted to notch before I do the ease, because what I'm gonna do is in between these 2 locations, the way that we did our curved seam exercise and we added gathers here, I'm gonna do the same thing here. So I wanna put the notches before I add my ease. All right, so let's do the slash and spread method. Cut all the way to our anchor point, and we're not going to slip all the way through. Now, I'm gonna either tape it or retrace it. I'm just gonna tape it for convenience. I'm gonna tape the top part first. Now here to here, I'm gonna add 3/8 of an ease. This is a small area, so you don't want ease that's too much. So either like a quarter, I think half of an inch is a little too much. So to me, 3/8 is just right. So 3/8 here. So the distance between here and here is 3/8. Now I'm gonna align my bottom part here while holding this pivot point here until it matches, and the distance here is 3/8. You guys see what I did there? I just opened up right at the princess seam, right at the apex, 3/8 of an inch.
So you're just adding to the bust right now?
Just to the bust. That's the only area that we're gonna add the ease, just because of the roundedness around the bust here. We don't need to add it to the front, we don't need to add anything to the back. Take that. Another area that will deal with ease, we'll deal with it later on, is at the shoulder, right here. Because the shoulder, sometimes it's rounder, sometimes it's not too bad, so the added ease kind of just helps to shape around the fullness of the curve here. But same idea around the bust. This added ease is going to help with the extra material, extra meat on the bust.
It
Okay.
also like allows for movement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can move
Movement around
inside.
the shoulder, yes.
Mhm.
But for here, there's not a lot of movement around the bust.
Mhm.
It really is just to help shape that curve.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so now I'm going to mark my new apex point, and it's just gonna be right in the center of where, oh my God, that's not the center. Right in the center of where my line was. So that's gonna be my apex notch, that's gonna match here. These 2 notches are gonna match here. And that's all that I'm gonna do for here, for the side panel. Now I'm just gonna just draw my seam allowance. we'll do the 1/2 inch around the princess seam.
And that ease is just gonna have to be stretched into that other panel.
Yep, that's exactly right. Or not stretched, but gathered. So we're gonna gather on this side. Here, when you're sewing and you're noticing there's puckering, you can stretch on this one to meet these notches. Okay. Seam allowance. For this part here, it kind of created a little bit of a corner, but it's not too major. But I'm just gonna draw a straight line down. If it was a really pointy curve, or a pointy point, then I would have tried to slim it with my French curve. But it's not too bad, so it's just gonna be straight. You can also use your French curve to draw out your curves of your seam bones. Extend your notches. And I think that's it. So my second, that's a very good point. So the grain line, if you kind of separated it from the center front point and the center back, you can use your bust line as your guide. It's always going to be perpendicular. So let's see. Let me just continue. Disregard that one. That's going to confuse me. So that's my new bust line. It's going to be perpendicular.
Got you. And then that's your.
That's your grain line. Okay, so this is the front pieces. The princess seam has successfully been created. Added seams, added ease, added notch. We're good to go. I'm gonna push this aside and I'm gonna do the back. Any questions on this one? Okay. Let me
So you just separated the bodice of the dart.
Yep, that's exactly what I did. Yeah.
You might have said this already, but are you using, because I've been told before that we're only supposed to use like Sharpie or like black markers for specific methods?
I'm only using marker so you guys can see.
Okay.
But I want you guys to
That's
use
what I thought,
pencil.
I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Pencil to do your pattern creation. The labeling, you can use ink, you can use pen, but I'm only strictly using this so you guys can see from afar.
So when we're doing this and for our submission, that should be in pencil.
Pencil, yeah.
Okay.
That's just so you can erase it and make adjustments as needed.
And you're fine with us turning in our working patterns?
Yeah. If you have working patterns, if you don't like to tape it and you do have the extra paper, go ahead and turn everything in. Okay. Now let's do the back. Now, instead of doing the princess, we're gonna do a horizontal dart. A horizontal seam here. But what we have is this dart that we want to move out of the way. So to do that, I'm going to transfer this notch, not notch, oh my goodness, I can't talk right now. Transfer this dart to what would be a dart here, and this dart is gonna then blend into the side seam. So it's not even gonna be a dart, it's just gonna be part of the seam. So to do that, we're gonna do our pivot method. You can do the slash method. You guys know how to do the slash and spread method, but I'm just gonna do the pivot because that is easiest and less paper wasted. Mark my notch one of the leg that's closest. I already have a hole here. This horizontal line, high back line, is going to be my location for my seam. You can put it anywhere, wherever you put it, it's gonna be the same way of pivoting. So this line, I'm gonna put a mark here, and this becomes my anchor point. So the way that we did the pivot, remember we had the apex points, right? And we kind of closed up the darts. So we're gonna essentially be doing that here. Even though there's a little bit of a gap from the dart leg here, it's not too big of a gap that I'm worried about. So the material that's being lost is like 1/8 of an inch only. So that's not a concern to me. So I'm gonna close this one, connect the other dart leg, and finish the rest of my armhole up until my new line. So this is my new line, so that's why I'm ending right here. But once I have that, I'm good to go. I have my marking here, all of my marking here. I'm then just going to connect everything. So the opening would have been like almost 1/2 of an inch opening. But because I closed it and I pivoted, that is relocated up here. Okay, so we have our notch here, we have our new seam here. We have a little bit of a point here. I'm just gonna use my French curve to ease it, to make it smoother, not ease, to make it smoother. And then this point, I'm gonna use that as my new notch. So that when I seam the top and the bottom part, I'm gonna have this notch to match up. So this is the top part. This is gonna be my number 3 pattern. And now it's just going to be adding all of the seam allowance as the other pieces. For this one, it's gonna be cut on fold. So I will just need to do my symbol, but I do not need to add seam allowance at the center. Okay, adding a seam allowance to my new seam I just created. And extending. And then I'm going to do my cut on fold. Cool. Top part done. The bottom part is not, there's no trick to it. It's just the bottom part. And we don't need to do any adjustments because all of the adjustments were done here. So we're just gonna finish and trace this as it is.
So the yoke has like a little angle at the bottom. Is that not going to be an issue?
That's not gonna be an issue, and actually that helps to add shaping around the back because you do have a little bit of curves around the back.
Right.
So this additional shaping kind of just helps like wrap around.
So that one will be straight.
Yeah, just the tiniest amount. Finish your lines, finish all your markings, and you're done. Oh, I forgot my dart end. And for this one, you will need to do the dart tip. This becomes my 4th piece. Let's call this one the back yoke, and this one the back bottom. Cool?
Yeah.
Seam allowance will be the same. Center front cut on, center back cut on fold. Actually, I'm gonna do that one. Center back, center back. Any questions on the back? Good? Okay, so that's all that I'm gonna demonstrate. I don't think I'm gonna do the sewing part.